Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something pretty fascinating, the decade-long scientific look at Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, this 500-acre place in Utah with just persistent, really wild paranormal claims.
And the big question we're tackling isn't just, did weird stuff happen, but more like, was it a genuine paranormal hotspot or, some kind of elaborate hoax?
Right, and what makes this one stand out, really, is the amount of actual scientific investigation. 10 years of it.
That's unusual, sets it apart.
Definitely. It wasn't just stories passed around. A serious team, scientists, PhDs, trying to document and figure out what was happening.
So our goal here is to kind of unpack what they found alongside what the original owners went through. See what this intense research actually showed.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It kicks off in 1994. Terry and Gwen Sherman buy this ranch.
Seemed like a dream, right? Big property, low price, perfect for their cattle breeding plans, maybe abandoned, hence the price.
But almost immediately, things started getting strange. Like, really strange. Livestock vanishing or being harmed in really bizarre ways.
And sightings. Strange creatures, weird lights in the sky.
It wasn't slow either. It sounds like it hit them right away.
Yeah, the speed and just the variety of things they reported from day one is pretty striking. Not just one odd event, but a constant barrage.
Which I guess is why it eventually caught serious attention.
From Robert Bigelow.
Right? The billionaire guy. Deeply interested in paranormal research. He heard the stories.
Saw an opportunity. He bought the ranch.
Yeah.
But more importantly, he funded a dedicated research team.
NIDS, the National Institute for Discovery Science.
Yeah, and they spent the next 10 years trying to get answers.
Bigelow's involvement, NIDS's.
Yep.
That really changed things, didn't it? Took it from local spooky stories to, well, a formal scientific investigation.
Which is pretty rare in this field,
So the million-dollar question. After 10 years of this, what did NIDS actually conclude?
Well, the central finding, which is kind of stunning when you think about it, was that yes, genuinely strange, unexplained events were indeed happening there.
Wow. Okay.
That's a pretty big statement from a scientific group. But to really get it, you need to understand the place itself. This isn't just any old ranch land.
Right. Northeastern Utah, 500 acres, desert landscape. The ranch buildings are, what, late 1800s, early 1900s?
Yeah, around then. But the land itself, it has this older, much darker history. People talk about a curse.
The Navajo curse.
That's the one. It's tied up in historical conflicts between the Navajo and the Ute tribes. Apparently, the Utes, who ended up controlling that land, used to capture and sell other Native Americans, including Navajo, into slavery.
Grim stuff. And the story goes the Navajo were forced off that specific land.
Yeah, and supposedly placed a curse on it. The Skinwalker curse.
Skinwalkers.
Yeah.
Shape-shifting witches, right? Taking animal forms.
Wolves, foxes, things like that. Using those forms to, well, terrorize people on the cursed land, according to the legends.
And previous owners had noticed weird things even before the Shermans.
Apparently so. Strange animal behavior, predatory animals acting odd. That led them to look into the land's history and uncover the curse stories. So the place already had a bit of a reputation.
Okay, so back to 1994. The Shermans arrive, excited, cattle breeding dreams, low price.
They probably overlooked some warning signs in their excitement.
Like what?
Well, things like dead bolts on all the doors and windows, inside and out.
Inside and out. That's odd.
And these big pikes with chains near the entrances, like for huge guard dogs, weird details for just a standard ranch.
Things you might not focus on when you're excited about a new place.
Exactly. But later, they probably seem pretty significant.
And the weirdness started literally on moving day.
Day one. They're unloading the truck and they see this massive wolf approaching.
How massive?
Terry, who knew predators, reckoned it was at least 6 feet long. Huge.
Okay, that's big.
But its behavior was the really strange part. It moved weirdly, like almost snake-like. Not aggressive, just nonchalant, wagging its tail.
Like a dog.
Yeah, acting like a friendly domestic dog, despite its size.
That mix of huge size and weird tameness is unsettling.
Definitely throws you off, which it did. Terry's father actually went up and petted it.
He petted the giant wolf.
And it responded like a pet. But then, like a switch flipped, it lunged at one of their calves in a pen, trying to rip its head through the fence.
Vicious.
Whoa!
So they tried to stop it.
Terry and his son did. Terry shot it. Point blank range. Nothing. No effect. His son hit it with an axe. Still nothing. It just kept attacking the calf.
Bullets and an axe didn't stop it.
Apparently not. Then, just as suddenly, it stopped attacking, gave up on the calf, and just casually trotted off into the woods nearby. Disappeared.
Okay. That's not normal wolf behavior.
Not even close.
Yeah.
And the aftermath was just as weird. No blood trail from where it was shot or hit.
None.
Nope. And where it walked into the woods, the ground was soft, muddy. Its footprints just stopped abruptly.
Vanished mid-stride.
Seems like it. And then there was this smell, a really strong, foul, sort of chemical smell hanging in the air.
So not your typical predator encounter.
Far from it. It suggests something physically anomalous.
And this was just day one. Gwen, Terry's wife, started having her own weird experiences right away, too.
Within that first week, yeah. Little things, but unsettling.
Yeah.
Like groceries she knew she'd put away, suddenly reappearing in the shopping bags.
Oh.
Or a towel vanishing from the bathroom, turning up later in a closet somewhere else in the house.
Okay, that's creepy. Poltergeist type stuff.
Right. She apparently got so worried she wondered if something was wrong with her medically. Like, was she losing her mind?
I can imagine. Especially after the wolf thing.
Then Terry had something happen too. A big, heavy tool he used for fencing, like 70 pounds.
Yeah.
He used it, left it by the fence line. It disappeared.
Just vanished.
For a week. Then they found it, 70 feet up in a cottonwood tree.
70 feet? How on earth?
Exactly. No explanation, nowhere near where he'd left it. That's when they probably started putting it all together.
Talking to each other, realizing it wasn't just one isolated weird thing.
Yeah, connecting the dots. The wolf, the groceries, the tool. This is all happening here.
Yeah.
On their property.
And suddenly those deadbolts inside and out don't seem so quirky.
No, they seem terrifyingly necessary. That sense of isolation must have really hit them then, too. Fear starts creeping in.
And it didn't stop there. The phenomena escalated.
Oh, yeah. Strange lights started appearing at night.
Like UFOs?
Well, initially they thought maybe headlights, people lost on the road, or maybe illegal hunters poaching.
Okay, rational explanations first.
But the lights didn't behave normally. They moved silently. If the Shermans tried to approach them, the lights would just retreat.
Evasive.
Very. And they'd see them flow silently up into the sky and just blink out. Vanish. No sound, nothing.
Okay, that's not hunters.
Doesn't sound like it. Consistent with a lot of UAP reports, actually.
Then the cattle started disappearing.
Yeah, especially during a rough winter.
Yeah.
And this was deeply concerning for ranchers, obviously.
And how are they disappearing?
Tracks would lead into this one specific wooded area, the same place the giant wolf had vanished.
Oh.
Just like the wolf, in this muddy patch, the tracks would just stop. The cow's gone. No sign of struggle, no drag marks, just vanished.
And this happened more than once?
Multiple times. Same spot, same way. Completely inexplicable loss of large animals.
Terry must have been losing his mind.
Understandably, yeah. He started getting paranoid, started staking out the property at night, tried to catch whoever or whatever was doing this.
Did he see anything?
He did. One night, he saw something he described as looking like a small, silent, stealth fighter jet.
A stealth jet. Hovering.
Hovering just maybe 20 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
Totally silent. It had these multicolored lights scanning the area below it.
That's a major escalation from weird lights. That sounds like a craft.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the really chilling part, Terry made some tiny noise, like shifted his weight or something.
Yeah.
Instantly, the lights went out. The object turned, oriented directly toward them.
It knew he was there.
Seemed like it. And then it just zipped away, silently, at incredible speed.
Wow. Responsive? Intelligent, maybe?
Suggests awareness, yeah. Meanwhile, the livestock problems continued, but they got even weirder.
Weirder than vanishing.
Yeah. Sometimes cows that had disappeared would reappear days later,
Okay.
but they'd have these incredibly precise, clean cuts on them, like surgical cuts, pieces missing, as if someone or something with surgical skill had operated on them.
Mutilations. The classic cattle mutilation phenomenon.
Sounds exactly like it. Precision cuts, often drained of blood, specific organs removed. Not the work of predators.
No, that sounds targeted, intentional.
And then they started seeing entities.
Entities. Like beings.
Humanoid figures, seen mostly at night, moving around the property. Featureless was the description.
Featureless humanoids. Just walking around.
Peering in windows, sometimes rapping on the glass.
Oh, that's terrifying.
And on a few occasions, they heard them right outside, seemingly talking, but in a language they couldn't understand, completely unintelligible.
Okay, this is beyond bizarre. This is relentless psychological pressure.
Absolutely. Think about it. The constant fear, the lack of sleep, worrying about the kids. Their schoolwork was suffering. Gran eventually lost her job because of the stress and disruption.
Their lives were being destroyed by this.
Sounds like it. Just pushed to the absolute limit.
Portals.
Yeah, that came next. A new kind of light started appearing, an orangey orb, usually seen in the distance.
Another light.
But this one was different. One night, Terry was watching it through his rifle scope, trying to get a better look.
And
He said it wasn't just an orb, it looked like an oval opening. A portal. And inside it, he could see what looked like bright blue sky.
blue sky inside the orange orb, like looking into another place.
That's how he described it, like a window into another reality or dimension.
That's mind-bending.
And it gets weirder. He said he saw things coming out of this portal.
Things? What kind of things?
Dark, humanoid figures, similar to the ones they'd seen lurking around. And also other, well, he called them weird craft, crawling or emerging out of this orange portal, moving onto his property and then disappearing.
And then the portal itself.
Would just close up and vanish.
So figures and craft emerging from a portal in the sky.
Okay, but even that wasn't the most terrifying thing for them.
No, it was.
Blue orbs.
Blue orbs. Different from the orange one.
Yeah. And these ones, they said, induced this immediate, overwhelming sense of dread, intense anxiety and fear just by being near them.
So a direct emotional or psychological effect.
Seems like it. Not just seeing something weird, but feeling intensely negative in its presence.
Was there a specific incident with these?
A really awful one involving their dogs. One night, the dogs were going crazy, barking aggressively at one of these blue orbs.
Okay.
Terry let them loose, figuring they'd chase it off or, maybe they could handle it. The dogs charged. The orb retreated into the woods.
And the dogs followed.
Yeah. Then Terry heard them start yelping, terrified sounds.
Oh no.
He said he was just too scared himself, given the fear these orbs generated, to go into the dark woods after them right then.
I can't blame him. What happened?
The next morning, he went to look. He found 3 distinct, perfectly circular patches of burned ground,
Burn in circles.
and in the center of each, a pile of gray ash. That's all that was left of his 3 dogs.
Oh my God.
Like I
Just
said-
ashes. Incinerated.
Completely. In these neat circles.
Yeah.
No explanation. That was understandably a breaking point.
I would imagine. Losing their pets like that. Horribly.
That, combined with everything else, they just couldn't take it anymore. They decided they had to sell, get out of there.
So they put the ranch up for sale.
And they contacted a local news outlet, went public with their story, all the bizarre, terrifying things that had happened.
And that's when Bigelow heard about it.
Exactly. The news story caught his attention. Someone obsessed with the paranormal, hearing about this place with such intense, varied activity, it was the perfect opportunity for him.
So he bought it.
He did. And crucially, he asked Terry Sherman to stay on as the ranch manager.
Smart move. Keep the guy with the first-hand experience on site.
Invaluable continuity and knowledge, yeah. Which leads us to the NIDS investigation.
Bigelow's scientific team.
Right. He recruited actual scientists, PhDs. Many of them were pretty skeptical about paranormal stuff initially.
Yeah. So they weren't true believers from the start.
No, they aimed for rigor. Their first step was baseline testing, trying to rule out any conventional explanation.
Like what? Environmental factors?
Yeah. Checking for hallucinogenic plants, contaminated water, weird geological radiation, that kind of thing. Also, psychological evaluations of the Shermans, trying to see if there was a mundane reason for the report.
Did they find anything?
Not really. And interestingly, for the first year or so NIDs was there, the really high-level activity seemed to calm down a bit. Still occasional strange lights, but not the constant barrage the Shermans described.
Maybe the phenomena reacted to the new presence.
That's one theory. But even with lower activity, after that initial phase, the NIDS team basically concluded that the Shermans' accounts seemed credible. They couldn't find conventional explanations to dismiss them.
So the scientists started thinking something genuinely weird was happening too.
It seems so. And then things picked up again, like the incident with the calf.
Ah, yes, the surgically dissected one.
Right. Terry and Gwen had just put a new bright yellow ear tag on a calf. Less than an hour later, like 40 minutes, they find it.
But-
It was completely dissected. Only the legs and head were left.
Yeah.
No blood anywhere.
40 minutes. That fast.
Yeah. And the yellow ear tag they just put on, gone.
Okay, that's precision and speed. What did NIDS make of it?
They had their own veterinarian examine the remains. The vet was adamant. The cuts were incredibly precise, like they were made with surgical instruments, not torn or ripped like a predator would do. Surgical skill.
So confirmation of the mutilation aspect.
Yes, and despite a massive search of the whole 500 acres, they found nothing. No tag, no tracks, no clues.
Just vanishes like the other cattle.
And then there was the sighting of the creature in the tree.
The wolf-like humanoid?
That's the one. The NIDS security team had guard dogs at different observation posts. Suddenly, all the dogs started freaking out, cowering, but all looking in the same direction.
Towards what?
Towards a tree. And perched in the tree, multiple witnesses, NIDS staff, researchers saw this huge, wolf-like humanoid figure.
Perched in a tree, like a giant gargoyle.
Kinda, yeah. Terry was there. He fired his rifle at it.
Did it hit?
It just vanished, disappeared into the woods.
Again with the vanishing. Did they find tracks?
They found large footprints near the tree with clear claw marks. But the trail just stopped. No other trace.
But the smell was back.
But that foul chemical stench the Shermans knew well. It was back, strong in that area.
So multiple credible witnesses, physical trace evidence like footprints, the smell, corroborating the Shermans' earlier accounts.
Exactly. It adds significant weight.
What about the bulls in the trailer? That story is just baffling.
Completely bizarre. Terry and Gwen saw their 4 prize bulls safe and sound in their locked corral 1 minute.
Locked corral. Got it.
A little while later, they notice the bulls are gone from the corral. They search and find them crammed inside a small, old, unused equipment trailer nearby.
Crammed inside. Bulls are huge.
Exactly. And the trailer door was wired shut, tightly, with old, undisturbed cobwebs across the wire.
Wired shut. How could they possibly get in there?
Physically, it seems impossible to get 4 large, easily spooked bulls into that tiny space without breaking the wire, disturbing the cobwebs, or causing a huge commotion. And the bulls were just standing there calmly inside.
Until they were found.
Until they were found. Then they apparently panicked. It made no sense.
Did NIDS investigate that?
They did. They found the corral bars were somehow highly magnetized.
Magnetized.
Yeah, and confirmed the trailer entrance was still wired shut, cobwebs intact. No explanation for how the bulls got inside, just pure impossibility.
Magnetic anomalies. They came up again, right? With the researchers themselves.
It did. Some NIDS researchers were out on the property edge doing surveys using compasses.
Yeah.
They suddenly smelled that distinct odor. Again, the metallic sort of rotting smell.
Skinwalker stench.
And at the same time, their compasses started going haywire, spinning erratically, but generally pointing towards where the smell seemed to be coming from.
Compass is freaking out, pointing at the smell.
Yeah. And they also reported that intense feeling of being watched. Unseen observation.
Creepy.
Then, just as suddenly as it started, the smell vanished, and the compasses went back to normal. Abruptly stopped.
So, sensory experience plus an instrument reading anomaly plus that psychological effect, all happening together.
It's compelling data, even if hard to interpret. And perhaps the most direct encounter the NIDS team had.
The one with the portal?
Yeah, late 1997. 2 researchers were up on a ridge observing the homestead area, likely with night vision or thermal gear.
Okay.
They see one of those orange orbs form near the main ranch house.
Like Terry described.
Exactly. They looked at it through infrared goggles and described seeing an oval-shaped opening appear within the orb.
The portal again.
And then they watched as a black, human-like creature crawled out of it.
They saw a creature emerge.
Yes. And then this creature started running incredibly fast up the hill straight towards where they were positioned.
Towards the researchers.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
They smelled the foul odor again as it got closer.
Yeah.
And then this thing bounded right past them, apparently very close, and just disappeared into the mountainside, like merged with the rock or vanished into it.
Okay, that's huge. Scientists witnessing a creature emerge from an apparent portal and then vanish into solid rock.
It's an extraordinary account, directly mirroring Terry Sherman's earlier report about the orange orb, but this time from trained scientific observers. Huge corroboration.
But after all this intense activity, it started to decline.
Yeah, interestingly, from about 1998 onwards, the frequency and intensity of the really bizarre events seemed to drop off significantly. Still occasional lights, maybe, but not the constant high strangeness.
Why? Any theories?
Hard to say. Did the phenomenon burn itself out? Was it tied specifically to the Sherman's presence? Did the constant observation change its behavior? Nobody really knows.
So NIDS eventually pulled out.
By 2004, yes. They'd collected a lot of data footage of lights, photos of the mutilated calves, hundreds of eyewitness reports from the Shermans and their own team, magnetic field data.
But no smoking gun.
No definitive, repeatable proof that would satisfy the broader scientific community. It was frustrating for everyone involved, Bigelow, the Shermans, the researchers themselves.
But I bet 10 years of work.
And this pervasive feeling, you heard it from many of them, that they were dealing with something intelligent, something that was always aware of them, always seemingly one step ahead.
But it controlled the interactions, decided what they could see or record.
That was the sense they got. making it incredibly hard to get conclusive evidence, especially with late 90s tech. Maybe it didn't want to be definitively proven.
So where does that leave Skinwalker Ranch?
Well, despite NIDS officially ending its on-site research, many of the scientists involved wrote books, gave interviews, maintaining their belief that something genuinely paranormal, genuinely strange was happening there.
So the debate continues.
Oh, yeah. Skinwalker Ranch remains one of the most credible, yet fiercely debated cases out there, precisely because of that decade of scientific scrutiny. It's not easily dismissed.
It complicates things, doesn't it, that scientific involvement?
Hugely. You can't just write it off as folklore or misidentification when you have PhDs describing creatures crawling out of portals they observed through infrared.
So wrapping this up, we're left with this conflict, right? Paranormal hotspot versus elaborate hoax or misinterpretation.
But that decade of science makes a simple hoax explanation difficult to sustain for everything reported, especially the NIDF team's own experiences.
You've got the physical stuff, the mutilated animals, the magnetic readings, the footprints.
You've got consistent eyewitness accounts from credible people, including scientists who started as skeptics.
And yet, this incredibly elusive, almost playful or manipulative intelligence behind it all, always staying just out of reach of definitive proof.
Exactly. So as you think about all this, the history, the Sherman's terror, the scientific findings, what makes the most sense to you?
Yeah, what explanation feels right, considering everything? And maybe the bigger question is, what does a case like Skinwalker Ranch, with all its weirdness and scientific attention, tell us about the edges of what we currently understand about reality?
Does it hint that there are things out there, phenomena, maybe even intelligences, that operate by rules we just don't grasp yet?
Definitely leaves you wondering. A lot to think about.